Been joined by the Honorable Councilmember Paul Krikorian. And I don't believe we have Councilman Wilshire expected today. No, we don't. Okay. So we have a few items, and a few that are called special. And there is a closed session item. What we're going to try to do is go through the agenda first. So that way most folks that are here for all the other items other than number one, you can get to your issues, and then we'll go into closed session for item one, and hopefully move you on out as quick as possible. Just a few housekeeping items. One is, you can tell the acoustics are not the best in here. So you have a conversation, please take it outside. I appreciate that very much. When you come to the microphone, I don't get very focused on what we're going to say, and we forget to say our name and our address. So let us know who you are and give us your address for the record. And give us your statement. And some of you have written very eloquent letters, 2-3 pages, but you've got 2 minutes, so it's important to get to the point. Sometimes you're kind of going through the letter and, oh my gosh, I still got 4 more paragraphs, I haven't made my point yet. So you want to get to your point as soon as possible. And if a person is going to speak after, and you feel that that person before you has already said what you had to say, it's okay to state, I agree with the previous speaker, and give us anything new or different. That would be much appreciated. So let's just go through the items that are marked special. So based on the cards submitted, number 7 is special. Number 8 and 9 are special. And Councilman Krikorian, with your indulgence, we can move to adopt numbers 2 and 3. We don't have any questions on those.
Excuse me.
Can move? Yes.
The Councilman, I believe you have a card on number 3.
On which one? On 3, okay. That one escaped me. So that'd be number 2. If we can move on 2. 4, 5, and 6 we can take together, and we'll call those special. These are preservation overlay zones. Like I said, 8 and 9 are special. 10 we can continue in plan to December 7th, and hopefully in council on December 15th. And I'm hoping our director from the planning department, LeGrand, is feeling better today. We understand he had a little mishap.
Special 9.
And the no report. So I'm sure he's recuperating, and we'll hope to see him soon. So that being the case, let's go with number 3. Roberto?
Sure, council members. Item 3 is a motion, Perry Rosenthal. It's instructing LHD, Planning, Cultural Affairs, and the city attorney to report back on the feasibility of creating a new program to allow artists that reside in the Arts District to remain in their homes and workspaces, and to provide additional housing options for the artists.
Do we have any reports from the staff on this?
No, this is a referral, council.
Referral, okay.
Yes.
So we'll move to public comment. And we have with us Raquel King. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Raquel King. I work for the Central City East Association. We manage 2 business improvement districts, the Arts District being one. And we just sort of found out about the motion, and I just want to make sure that we are a part of what you are approving. We want to be a part of it. We support the artists in the area, and our boards are comprised of stakeholders who have over 25 years of development experience in the Arts District. So I'm just basically requesting that the Arts District bid be a part of the planning process of this new program.
Okay.
Okay?
And
And
But I want to make sure that the staff is aware of your presence and your support, and hopefully if there's any questions, they will know how to get to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Ms.
very much.
Thank you much. Okay, I see no one else on this item. We can move.
To adopt the motion, Council.
Have a second on that? Thank you, sir. So that's moved in second. There'll be action in this committee. And we can take 4, 5, and 6 together.
Those are proposed historic preservation overlay zones in CD 10. One is the Country Club Park, the other one is the Windsor Village, and the third one is the Wilshire Park HPOC.
Great. Can I have the staff present, please? I believe in one of the districts, there's some nuances that we want to address. This is in District 10, maybe?
Good afternoon. This is Blake Lamb with the Planning Department, and also we have Courtney Schoenwald with the Planning Department, and Courtney will be briefing you on the items.
Hi, I'm Courtney
good afternoon.
Schoenwald with the Planning Department. Before you is the adoption of 2 HPOZs that are new. One is the Country Club Park HPOZ, the other is Windsor Village. The other case is an amendment to an existing HPOZ, Wilshire Park. Country Club Park includes 660 properties. It has a 76% of contributors. It was recommended for approval by the Cultural Heritage Commission on August 19th and by the City Planning Commission on September 16th. Windsor Village HPOZ area, as approved by the City Planning Commission, includes 273 properties with a 74% contributing rate. It was recommended for approval by Cultural Heritage Commission with the inclusion of Crenshaw Boulevard on September 16th, and recommended for approval from City Planning Commission without the inclusion of Crenshaw Boulevard on September 16th. It should be noted that with the inclusion of the Crenshaw Boulevard properties, the Windsor Village HPOZ area includes 309 properties and has a 71% contributing rate. The Wilshire Park amendment involves a change to the structure of the HPOZ board. It was recommended for approval by the Cultural Heritage Commission on August 19th and City Planning Commission on September 16th. Each of the HPOZ ordinances before you includes a language providing for a joint board between these 3 areas, as well as an expanded board of 7 members. Each ordinance also includes a technical correction regarding a severability clause. And both Country Club Park and Windsor Village also include urgency clauses in order to become effective upon publication.
Okay. So that covers both items, 4 and 5?
And 6.
And 6, okay. Let's go through the speaker cards, and then we'll ask questions. Should any arise? And for item 4, we have with us Tom Smith and Roberta M. O'Donnell. Welcome, folks.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Tom Smith. I live at 1234 South Gramercy Place in Country Club Park. I'm currently the president of the Country Club Park Neighborhood Association. Our neighborhood, my neighbors have been trying for a couple of decades to get to this point to establish Country Club Park as a preservation district. We appreciate having gotten this far. We've worked people on the ground, people taking pictures, people talking to people. We appreciate the City Planning Commission's effort to come up with this creative way of administering the 3 adjacent HPOZs, and we're grateful to all the city people that have worked with us to get to this point. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Roberta M. O'Donnell?
Hi, I'd just like to I'm Roberta O'Donnell, 666 South Bronson Avenue, Los Angeles 90005. I'd just like to thank planning in particular for all the help that they've done for us. And also, we've got a bit of a last-minute twist coming up, and I'm not sure which way that's going to go, but I may ask to speak again, if that would be all right. Can I defer until after Andrew Westall has spoken?
No, you should make your statement right now.
Okay, well then, I'll leave it at that then. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we do have with us On this item number 4, Ms. Westphal would like to speak now? Is he here? Andrew? That's item 4, correct?
Yes. If you don't mind, I'll just speak on all three of them, 4,
Okay.
5, and 6. So, just in general, there are some amendments to 5 and 6 that we'd like to submit to the committee. In terms of item number 4, we're in full support of, and both 4 and 5 are things that our office has been working with the community on for almost 3 years now. We've had interim control ordinances in place for an extended period of time trying to get these HPOZs in place. And item number 4, we're in complete support of the CPC recommendation. On item number 5, in terms of the Windsor Village HPOZ, there had been some controversy with that particular application due to the fact that the Cultural Heritage Commission, the community and the council office wanted the properties on the west side of Crenshaw Boulevard included in the HPOZ. And so what we're asking today is that the committee amend the CPC recommendation to include those properties, which, as I spoke about before, would be in line with the Cultural Heritage Commission's recommendations and not the CPC recommendations. And then on item number 6, in terms of the Wilshire Park HPOZ, which is an HPOZ that's already in effect now, we would like to ask for a report back from the Department of City Planning to prepare an amendment to include those properties on the east side of Crenshaw. As both these neighborhoods, Wilshire Park and Windsor Village, as they come together at Crenshaw Boulevard, it makes sense that both sides of Crenshaw should be respectively in the HPOZs. And so what we're asking today, as I mentioned before, is for Windsor Village, which is on the west side, for those properties to be placed into the plan now, as it is before you, and then for Wilshire Park, which is on the east side of Crenshaw, for those properties to be have an amendment prepared and have the surveys done, and so that we properly notice those property owners and go through the process to include them. And so with that, as I said before, these are things we've been working on for quite a long time, and we're very much in support. Just some small changes we'd like to see to those plans. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Westphal. So, moving on to item number 5, so we'll group them together. We have Julie Grist, and then we'll have Allison Sepinol. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, Julie Grist, 907 South Windsor Boulevard, and I'm Vice President of the Windsor Village Association. And we're delighted with this way this is all finally coming to fruition. Our neighborhood has worked for 6 years to pretty much get this going. We've done our own survey with the help of architectural resources. And we're really thrilled to be working with the 2 other associations in a joint board and preservation plan. Regarding the Crenshaw issue, we would really like it to be included, the northern area of Crenshaw particularly. This is our full eastern exposure to the city. On the western side, we are adjunct to Fremont Place, which is a closed community, so no one sees that side. They don't come in on that side of Windsor Village. They come in on the north, the south, and the entire east side, which is Crenshaw Boulevard. And to have those houses torn down and replaced by who knows what, and only the interior preserved seems like not a very smart move. So we really would hope that you will endorse including Crenshaw Boulevard in our HPOZ. And we want to thank planning for all the wonderful work they've done, and we hope this goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Allison Sepinol. And then we have Danae Frey, I believe, or Flay?
I'm Allison Sapinor. I live at 922 South Windsor Boulevard, and I worked on the HPOZ survey, and I'm part of the HPOZ committee, and we're really excited about today. And I also wanted to mention that I support Crenshaw and the inclusion in our HPOZ. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Danae? Good afternoon.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Denny Fry. I'm a property owner at 951 South Victoria Avenue. I've lived in Windsor Village since 1972. I'm also a member of the Windsor Village Association Board, and I thank everybody very much for their attention to this HPOZ request, and I support and endorse the previous speakers, especially including Crenshaw in our HPOZ application. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. R.J. Stroh, that'll be our last speaker. One more? Okay. Okay, we'll be closing public comment after the...
Yes, good afternoon. I submitted some documents.
Could you give us your name and address for the record?
Oh, yes. It's R.J. Strotz, S-T-R-O-T-Z. I reside at 816 South Windsor Boulevard. I also am a member of the Board of Directors of Windsor Village Association. I did submit a document to this committee wherein I attached the recommendations of the Cultural Heritage Commission. That commission recommended the inclusion of the western portion of Crenshaw Boulevard within the boundaries of our HPOZ. From the very inception of our petition and our work to become an HPOZ, we have always included the western portion of Crenshaw. With regard to the recommendation of the Cultural Heritage Commission, my statement would be, who better than to decide to include those homes and those residences in our historic neighborhood. Country Club Park was approved with regard to their inclusion of Crenshaw Boulevard, and those properties are zoned R3, similar to the properties on Crenshaw Boulevard in Windsor Village. To exclude Crenshaw Boulevard, the western portion, from Windsor Village would be discriminatory and abuse of discretion. If Country Club Park can include Crenshaw Boulevard, it is our belief that Crenshaw Boulevard should also be included within the Windsor Village boundaries. Thank you very much.
Yes.
If I could just ask a quick question.
Mr. Stroh?
Ma'am. Because we were presented with amendments from the council office that include all residential zoned properties on the west side of Crenshaw Boulevard from Wilshire Boulevard to 9th Street in the Windsor Village HPOZ. So does that meet your concerns?
That meets all of our concerns.
Right.
Yes,
Thank
all the
you.
other properties south of 9th are commercial, so
Thank
they
you.
do not apply.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim McQuiston, our final speaker.
Jim McQuiston. I do want to point out that the mayor just got transportation funds for the Crenshaw corridor, and if we're going to have a transit-oriented district, why we wouldn't want a HPOZ on Crenshaw. It's kind of a caution. My grandmother lived on Bronson, just north of 9th Street, and I can remember when the Agabeg Temple was built at Crenshaw and 8th Street, people said, there goes the neighborhood. It's a very old neighborhood, and the houses are worth preserving. There is a clash there between transit and walkability to transit and the fact that we are going to have a fast corridor down Crenshaw very quickly.
Thank you, Mr. McQuiston. I believe that concludes all public comment, and that allows us to move on items 4, 5, and 6. Unless there are any other questions, Councilmember? We do have amendments, as stated by the representatives of the district, and those amendments are language been submitted to the clerk. Yes, on items 5 and 6. So with amendments,
It has been suggested that you may want to take a vote on each of those.
individually?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to move on item 4. Is there a second? Okay. That's action of this committee. And 5 with amendments. Second on number 5. Madam Clerk?
And also, Councilman, can you also instruct the department to prepare a new ordinance relative to the amendments?
Just like you said. Okay. And item number 6 with amendments. A second. And ditto that. with that directive. Okay. All right, that'll be the action for this committee for items 4, 5, and 6. And Mr. Westow, congratulations to the council office and the committee members for your patience, 6 to 10 years. Yeah, you deserve a round of applause. Congratulations. Great. So, Roberto, where does that take us?
Just wanted to clarify, Councilman, that for item 6, since you're amending the boundaries, that action needs to go before the City Planning Commission.
So we'll be sending that back.
Right.
Okay. And that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. All right. So that'll be the next step for item number 6 then.
The next item, Councilman, would be item number 8, which is a Cultural Heritage Commission report to include the Howard was residence as a historic cultural monument. It's in CD 10.
Is that item 8 or number 7?
Item 8, Councilman, but I jumped ahead. Actually, the next item would be 7, which is a report from the Planning Commission. It's a general plan amendment, a zone change, and a height district change for an industrial complex in CD4.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Smith.
Good afternoon, council members. Linda Smith, City Planning. As was indicated, this is a request that was before the City Planning Commission for a general plan amendment, a zone and height district change for property located within the Hollywood Community Plan area. The project site is located between Seward Avenue and Hudson Avenue, with our Main Street at the northern border. The general plan amendment to low, medium, or limited manufacturing was basically so that the entire site would have the same or a consistent general plan designation. And also the zone change from NR1 and R3 to N1-23 would allow for an industrial zone across the entire site. Currently, the site previously had both a residential zone and an industrial zone. So now it's proposed to have one consistent industrial zone. Attached to the zone change was also a height district change to Height District 2. Part of that height district change includes a development limitation. Currently, that height district allows a floor area ratio of 6:1 and unlimited height. The delimitation that was approved by the commission would limit the floor area ratio on the site to 2.3:1 and would limit the overall height on the site to 76 feet. Just in general, because the site is located immediately adjacent to residentially zoned properties, all of the vehicle access is going to occur along the western portion of the site. Across the street from the site are existing film and editing uses. This project site is also proposed to be used as a film office and editing and film-related type use as well. There is a technical correction attached to this project. There are multiple heights proposed on the site, and that's primarily to provide some buffer for those adjacent residentially zoned properties to the south. The building height would be limited at 59 feet within 10 feet of that property line, but can go up to 76 feet elsewhere on the site. The site plan the site plan condition is being corrected so that it indicates specifically that this project has to be in substantial conformance with the height that is located or identified on the elevations. Other than that, if you have any questions, that's a general overview of the project.
Okay. Any questions, Councilmember? We'll go to public comment. If there other questions arise, we will ask you to come forward. And so let's go through the cards. Item number 7. And let's start with the applicant. You have believe you have Robert, let's see, Pentel, and Julie Sobka, so I let you decide who wants to speak first.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilman Reyes, Councilman Krikorian, good afternoon. My name is Robert Pentel. I'm the representative of the applicants, Ben Haran Editing Film Center. This project is something to revitalize this corner in Hollywood. It's the site of a building that was damaged by fire a few years ago, but has historically been there since the 1950s. We think it would be a great addition to renovate it and make it into a bright, new, shiny glass and steel modern office building for editing of film production. Same use has always been around in Hollywood. We've had extensive outreach with the neighbors in the local area. We've talked on numerous occasions with them. Central Hollywood Neighborhood Council supports us. We've had great workings with the council district. We're happy to bring this project to you. Can go over more details if you have any questions. We'll be here if you have anything else you'd like to know.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Julia Sobka? Is Julia here? Like to speak?
The applicant's representative, Julia and Alex, just filled out speaker cards in case anything else comes up, but again, they're here to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, so that takes care of Alex Weingarten as well.
Correct. And also, if I may, I'd like to reserve 1 minute. I understand that there's a new speaker card that has been submitted for potentially somebody else that I have not seen before. If I may have an opportunity to come back and speak to any issues that they may raise, I would appreciate that.
If we ask you to come up, we will ask you.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Thank you for that offer. We have Jim McQuiston.
Jim McQuiston, as you know, I'm very desirous of keeping Hollywood in Hollywood, and this could be something which would be really nice. However, we do have the state law and the federal constitution, and we all have to agree to follow that, and the findings can't support this project. So I would suggest that very quickly I've given a copy to Mr. LeGrand and to Mr. Parks, because it could lead us all to have to close up Los Angeles if we're not very careful with these findings. I don't want to go into these right here, but I'm sure you've seen the numbers in it. It's very, very alarming. And it could be that the findings can be worked out. And these people have been very, very eager to cooperate on things, and there's probably going to be some further adjustments. But we have to remember that we're zoning land here, we're not zoning buildings. So whatever the use is of the buildings and whatever the size of the building that's built doesn't have anything to do with the zoning on the land. And it could be a beautiful building and it could be trash. But that's not my point. My point is, if the state and the federal says you got to do this, then we have to do it. And the findings do not comply with the state law. We've been through this before in Superior Court. This could go to federal court, and it could be, we'd have to close the doors in the city. So we don't want to do that.
Thank you, Ms. McQuiston. Our final speaker will be Doug Winsman. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Representing the district office.
Council members, yes, Doug Minson, representing Councilman Tom LaBonge. Just wanted to voice our strong support for this project. It has gone through several iterations. The applicant, I want to commend and thank the applicant for working very closely with the adjacent condo owners to come to a project that everyone likes aesthetically, as well as something that meets with one of our goals for this section of Hollywood, which is keeping the film production jobs and stuff in keeping Hollywood in Hollywood, as we'd said earlier. It's something that is going to work. It's complementary in keeping with the surrounding uses. As you've heard, this is sort of right on the boundary of where the studio uses kind of stop and the residential uses begin further south, so it's perfect location for it. It's a dilapidated, blighted, burned out building right now. don't think that the zone change or anything along those lines is going to interfere with any findings that the commission has already capably made. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask the staff to come back to the Ms. Smith. In light of the observations as stated by Mr. McQuestion, the findings that have been referred to, have you had an opportunity to review the assertions that are being made that have been submitted in writing?
Mrs. Linda Smith, City Planning. No, I have not.
Okay. What we can do is move this, if it is agreed upon by my colleague, we can move this forward with the understanding that you will review his comments and his observations as posed, and if there are any changes and or recommendations or observations that results of that, you can let us know before council.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. Councilmember, you have any other? Okay. Okay, so let us know, let our deputies know what you saw, if there is cause for any other action, you please make us aware before it gets to council.
Yes, okay.
Okay? Any other questions or observations? All right. I understand we can do this, but we do have some technical clarification on this item. And is that technical clarification before us? Do we have that in writing, Madam Clerk? We do? Okay. And the clarification is Ms. Smith? Just for the record, I'd like to come on up. On the technical clarification that's been submitted, it's consistent with the report and does not diminish from the recommendation?
Oh, that is correct. This is Linda Smith, City Planning. Yes, the technical correction clarifies the intent of the commission to hold this project to the height that was approved at their meeting.
Okay. So we're comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to move. Do you have a second? That'll be the action of this committee. Roberto?
The next item, council members, is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission. It's a designation for a historic cultural monument for the Hauerwas residents in CD10.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon. Ken Bernstein with the Office of Historic Resources. This is the Cultural Heritage Commission report on the Historic Cultural Monument nomination for the Hauerwas, and the name was of the monument, proposed monument, was expanded by the Cultural Heritage Commission to be the Hauerwas Kusa-Yanagi residence at 3741 West 27th Street in Jefferson Park. This is a two-story residence built in 1914. The Cultural Heritage Commission recommendation was to approve the building as a historic cultural monument as a noteworthy example of mission revival architecture. And in addition, the commission found that the building's association with Dr. Masako Kusa-Yanagi was significant as well. She was a second-generation Japanese-American who was an early physician in the Japanese-American community. She and her family were relocated to the Manzanar camp during World War II, where she served as a camp physician during that time. So the monument name was expanded, and the findings were expanded to reflect that portion of its history, and the commission recommended approval.
Okay. We do have several cards on this item. And we have the applicant, Anna Marie Brooks. Let's come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Marie Brooks. I live at 1109 4th Avenue. We've come to a bit of a snag. Two things. I talked to Dr. Casanucci this weekend. She is still alive. She's 96, the same age as her former home. And she is probably more lucid than most of us. I was quite amazed. Wonderful, wonderful woman. So with that in mind, we have even more reason possibly to protect this. Also, I was approached by the owners to see if I would withdraw the nomination and put it back through City Council. It's going to move forward today, is my understanding, but that may or may not come up again. So that's where we are now, apparently, as of 2 minutes ago. So,
Well, we will go through our proceedings, and after deliberation, we'll have a conclusion.
exactly.
Okay? So, anything else you'd like to add?
That's all I have for today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for
Thank
taking
you.
the time. We have with us Mahmoud, and I don't want to butcher the last name. Maybe you can help me out.
Yes, sir. Mahmoud Qarachidaqi. I am an architect, and I'm commissioned to work with the client on developing this project. And my office is as 19191 South Vermont Avenue, Suite 640, Torrance, California 90274. Our position at this point, based on, I have done a lot of, historical monuments, renovation, and preservation, etc., including this city hall that I was part of the group that working during the remodeling of this. On my other project was City of Los Angeles main library and Union Station main ticketing areas and so on. So, I have done a lot of architectural, historical building. And in no way this building is, anyway, to say it's a historical monument. It is, if you look at what they have done during past few decades, everything is so ordinary at this point. If I can even, we are out of, we don't have too much time.
So you're arguing against the monument?
Yes, against
Okay.
that designation.
All right.
Because,
why.
you see all the windows are just aluminum windows, the Home Depot type of door and windows, and there is no, with the exception of some feature in front, you can't find any significant item to call this historical. I think my time is out, unless I have time to speak more.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Kenneth Bank.
Gentlemen, Councilman Reyes, nice to see you again. Nice look, by the way.
Yes.
Last time we spoke, last time I saw you, you were looking a little different.
It happens.
Anyway, I'm a consultant for the owner, and I'm speaking against the recommendation primarily because of a due process issue. In April of this year, we had contacted the Cultural Affairs Commission, or excuse me, the Office of Historic Preservation. I spoke to Mr. Bernstein, or Mr. Bernstein's representative, Edgar Garcia, and we explained to them that we were going through the process of trying to determine whether or not there was a historic preservation overlay zone for this particular property. We were informed that it was not part of an overlay zone, and at that particular point in time, there was no mention of any application being filed for historic designation on the property. I gave Mr. Bernstein's office the contact information for the owner-to-be, who's sitting here in the audience with us. And then we were made aware at the end of May that Cultural Heritage Commission had met in a hearing on the 20th of May to recommend this going forward. When I called Mr. Garcia and I said, how come we weren't informed? Well, if you look at the recommendation report, it's addressed to Girls and Boys Town of Southern California, and addressed to Father Flanagan's Boys Home, which were the prior owner of the building, but not to the existing owner. Then I asked Mr. Garcia what was the next step in the process. He said, well, we're going to take it under deliberation of staff. We'll let you know by the 5th of July. And I said, okay, what happens after the 5th of July? We'll let you know whether or not we're going to recommend. Okay. We can't hire and spend money based on not knowing what they're doing. 7th or 8th of July. Am I allowed to go forward?
Please conclude.
Okay. 7th or 8th of July, we got written notification that the recommendation was moving forward and the hearing was being held on July 15th, which is a week later. I argued that due process doesn't give him enough time to be able to hire an expert to be able to examine the recommendations and the reports. We asked for copies of the administrative code from Bernstein's office 6 times. It's not been forthcoming. We've asked for the written reports from the hearings themselves. They were not forthcoming. I had the initial recommendation, but I didn't have anything that came after that. All right. We fast forward to this particular point in time. The city clerk's office, when they were sending out notifications, we're still sending out all notifications to the prior owner, and it was only after Edgar Garcia found out that, oops, they made a mistake, that at the end of August, beginning of September, they finally notified the city clerk's office that there is indeed and has been a new owner of the property since the beginning of June sometime. And he put us on notification that we're set up for now.
I think it's pretty clear the picture you're painting, sir.
Well,
can you submit that in writing, the dates and the inconsistencies?
Well, Bernstein's office has and so does the city council office.
Okay.
And they've had all those communications for a long time.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Norman Gilmore, and then Laura Myers.
Hello, my name is Norman Gilmore. I'm a resident at 3652 3rd Avenue, which is in Jefferson Park, where I've lived for 7 years now. I'm speaking as an individual, although I also serve as Secretary of the United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council. I'm speaking in favor of this application today. Jefferson Park has a remarkable collection of houses from this era, as you probably know, in addition to other significant structures that are not residential, like the Andrew Clark Memorial Library and the various churches on Adams. So we are very much trying to protect our historic resources. We're trying to get an ICO for Jefferson Park now. It doesn't encompass this property, which is right adjacent to it. And we're trying to get our HPOZ, which has been in process since 2002, if you can believe it. I'm very happy for Olympic Park, but man, they're sailing compared to us. So Jefferson Park has a very strong set of ties to the Japanese American community. I still have lots of Japanese American neighbors. We don't have anything that represents their era. We haven't been protecting the elements that were connected to Japanese American culture. This is one of the final remaining elements of Japanese American culture that we can connect to that. So I want to throw that in as another reason to support this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Laura Myers? That'll be our first.
Hi, I'm Laura Myers. I live at 1818 South Gramercy Place, LA 90019, and I am the chair of the United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council's Planning and Zoning Committee. I'm going to go through a very quick scenario here. First Wednesday of April, Mr. Bank and his client did attend on the agenda a meeting with the committee, and there were many people in Jefferson Park in the room, as was I. We talked about their proposal. They were informed that 2 different historic consultants, one of whom is Anna Marie Brooks, had identified this as a historic structure. It had been advertised as a historic structure by the seller. The community was very clear that they wanted this structure retained and that they felt it was historic, but it obviously wasn't yet designated. The seller has assured me that they disclosed every step of the way, and I think that's clear since they knew, these fellows knew who to contact, that it was disclosed, that it was in the process of becoming a historic cultural monument. In fact, what the seller has told me is that before they closed escrow, he did say, it's okay, you don't have to close escrow, it's about to be a designated monument. As you also know, I've been in this room now. This is the third time for the same hearing. The first time it was a glitch, and they weren't technically informed. The second time they were notified, but requested that you continue it to today. So I don't know why we're still trying to do delays. This is very important to the Jefferson Park community and all of United Neighborhoods. As Norman mentioned, it would be the first, and at the moment only, historic cultural monument actually associated with the Japanese American heritage in our entire community. I mean, obviously in Little Tokyo you have some monuments. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And last but not least, the council member's representative, Mr. Westall. We're pretty busy, Mr. Westall.
At least it's all on one agenda, right? Good afternoon, council members. The council office is in complete support of this application, and we've been in discussions with the community and the property owner on this particular application for some time. As was brought up earlier, there were some concerns by the council office and the council member on due process issues, but in my discussions with the city attorney's office last week, they felt that this was the hearing that had to be properly noticed, and that there were no due process issues, and our real issue was not to delay the application or to change our support for the application. It was really to ensure that we minimize litigation on the city's part on this particular issue. But as far as the council office is concerned, and at least as I said in my discussions with the city attorney's office, that we don't have any problems there, and so we would ask you to move forward and support this recommendation today.
Great, I appreciate you bringing that up because that was going to be my question to the staff, but you beat me to the punch. But Mr. Westall, real quick, the detail that was indicated here is detail that you did cover with the staff in reference to the due process and the alleged inconsistency.
Yeah, I've been aware of this issue for several weeks at this point. The first discussions that I had with the potential property owner, because at that time they were in escrow, was sometime in April or May of this year. So this has been an ongoing process that the property owner, the current property owner, has been aware of. But as I said, after going through kind of the whole litany of the timeline with the city attorney's office, they felt that the real issue is, had the Plum Committee hearing been properly noticed, and if it had, then there were no due process issues.
Madam Attorney, any response to these statements?
Well, I'm not sure who Mr. Westall talked to. It wasn't me, but that sounds correct to me, what he's saying. I don't know if staff has anything else to add on the notice issue.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes. Again, Ken Bernstein with the Office of Historic Resources. We acknowledge that the initial notification of the Plum hearing, which I believe was for the Plum date of September 14th, was inadequate. What had occurred is, inadvertently, when the case had gone from the Cultural Heritage Commission and the Commission office to the city clerk, the former address, as was indicated, the former address had carried forward on the determination letter instead of substituting out the new address once the property had transferred. When we caught that, the Plum item was continued for 2 weeks. The owner then requested an additional continuance to today to allow for additional preparation, or the preparation of a response to the nomination. So again, we acknowledge that there was not adequate due process, and took every step to correct that and improve the notice of the property owner for the Plum hearing.
So the fact that there was additional time allotted to respond to the second notice that went to the corrected address, that any kind of feedback or defense that the applicant would have wanted to make, and or the opposing team, so to speak.
Indeed, the time limit as well for this item was extended per the Cultural Heritage Ordinance, which allows for an additional 15 days on top of the usual 90-day period for the council to act, and that was extended upon request of the property owner to allow for even additional time.
I guess my emphasis is that we're making sure that both sides get ample time to respond, and because of these time frames, what we typically do as a city was allotted to both parties.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Westall. Any questions, Councilman? So the action be given the dialogue and the amount of time allotted and the feedback from the staff and city attorney's review, that we would recommend the relative historic cultural monument designation as indicated by the report. That'd be a second? Okay, that'd be an action of this committee. Next item, Roberto.
Next item, council members, it's an appeal. It's a sequel appeal relative to a 125-unit apartment building in CD5.
Okay. Is the staff here?
Good afternoon, Blake Lamb with the Planning Department. You have before you an appeal of the City Planning Commission adoption of the mitigated negative declaration for DIR-2007-5179 SPR-DB at 375 to 393 North La Cienega. An additional appeal has not been officially filed, but planning staff has been made aware that an additional appeal will be filed based on the Central Area Planning Commission adoption of the mitigated declaration for the same case. And in order to allow these two appeals to be heard at the same time, we are requesting that the case be continued for 2 weeks to the next November 2nd plum date.
2 weeks.
Correct.
And now we can hear them both.
That's in order, as I said, one appeal has been filed. That's the appeal that's before you today. Staff has been made aware that an additional appeal will be filed, and in order to allow those two appeals to be heard at the same date.
We have enough time to do that within the legal framework?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we will move to continue this item?
Yes.
For 2 weeks. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Okay, Roberto, I believe that covers everything but number one?
That would take us back to item 1, which is the closed session city attorney report.
Well, let's take public comment, then we'll go into closed session.
Okay, this item is a city attorney report. It's a status update on the Worldwide Rush versus City of LA litigation.
No, Roberto, I meant the public comment, the general public comment.
Oh, okay, sorry, Council.
That's okay, I should have been clear. It's all my fault. But this is for general public comment. We have Mr. Noel Weiss. It's for general public comment.
Good afternoon, council members. My public comment is that I think one thing that this situation makes clear is that it does matter who's city attorney. I think Mr. Jutanich needs to be applauded for his effort in this area of billboards.
Okay.
There's no reason why Joaquin Delgadillo couldn't have done the same thing. Council that predates Mr. Krikorian's being on the council, there were all kinds of secret meetings, closed sessions, supposedly the council relying on city attorney advice that basically ended up to be wrong, incorrect, and I think the principle here...
Mr. Weiss, I hate to bother you, interrupt you, but let me just for a second.
Yes.
Item number 9, we did have speaker cards. It was continued. We were surprised by it. I hate to deny you the opportunity to speak. I know you were here, but I'm assuming you're going to come back in 2 weeks. We're going to give you as much time to make your point, but because we have full agendas, we try to be conscientious of our time frames. Okay.
Plus, if you're lucky, they may actually give you some rebuttal time.
Okay.
It'd be nice for due process.
Thank you for your courtesy, Mr. Weiss.
Oh, thank you for listening to me, Mr. Weiss. I appreciate it. But the fact is, the point that's made here is that who the city attorney does matter, and when you undertake, be it in this issue going forward, that there really be, to the extent possible, a true open and transparent process, because the problem before was that it wasn't open and transparent. Now, yes, there's litigation, but you know what? A lot of times the council can waive, or the council can partially waive. And when we're talking about these public policy issues, it's important that the public get the benefit of the give and the take, because sometimes the city attorney, as in the case of Rocky Delgadillo, was totally wrong. Carmen Trutanich was correct, and this council was led forward based upon good, solid advice from Mr. Trutanich's office. That advice is forthcoming on a lot of matters, and I'm just hoping that this would be an example of maybe going forward that we can adopt a new kind of an approach where the city attorney's office is more forthcoming with the public with regard to public policy matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss, for your concern. Thank you very much. That concludes public comment, and now we'll move into closed session. Yeah, well, if he's around, I'll ask him. Okay, we're back, open session, and we have just reviewed item number 1. And for the record, I wanted to thank the staff for their hard work, both the city attorney's office for their due diligence over the past almost 10 years, building and safety as well, and their hard work, and planning department. I remember that one Christmas season where everybody worked overtime and came in during vacation and tried to beat the clock, and okay, we'll leave that alone. But we're here now. But I thank you for those sacrifices. And there's a sense of reassurance in that we've been able to move over 750 illegal signs since the latest actions that have been taken by the courts in the city. And so I am grateful for that order and for that rule of law that have been restored. To be consistent with that progress and to look forward in creating a dialogue that allows us to formulate in a very methodical fashion an approach that allows us to maintain the consistency of our latest rulings. I'll be asking that the planning department, building safety, and the city attorney report back in 30 days. And the report should discuss new framework rules for creating sign districts in the city. And the report should identify consensus sign code reforms for our consideration, knowing that we have over 20 additional amending motions that have surfaced since 2009. So being able to update our sign code and looking at a comprehensive reform of our sign code that will begin to peel away at this challenge in a manner that allows us to move forward. So that would be the directive of looking at sign district rules and 2 consensus sign code reforms. We have a second on that?
And, excuse me, Mr. Reyes, you're calling for reports back to this committee then?
To this
Yes,
committee.
right. Second that.
Then the second, and I'm hoping that the rest of the city family could focus on our efforts here, and that as they go through sign issues in various departments, they take the time to address this committee and allow the flow of that information and/or issues to stay within the umbrella of this committee to minimize confusion and to enhance our focus on these issues. So that being the case, we look forward to that report back. Any comments, Councilman? Okay, so anybody here for public comment on this item? Seeing no one, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.